You want to get fit, perhaps maybe even want to lose a bit of weight, and the thing you've chosen to do that is swimming. Good for you. But swimming can be quite intimidating. So today I'm going to run you through your first swim and how to not be intimidated by your local pool. So swimming can be really appealing. It's a great way to get fit, it's a great way to lose weight, it's great for mental health, it's great for mobility, it's great for many things, but it can be quite intimidating. There's dozens of people that know exactly what to do, where to go, what to do, and whereas you are totally clueless. You're worrying about doing the wrong thing, getting in people's way, messing up their sessions, but it doesn't need to be like that. The pool does not need to be intimidating and no one is judging you. Right, first off, let's do a bit of an overview of just the pool itself and what you should expect. Now, generally speaking, most pools are divided into lanes, like you can see behind me here. Now, in a competition, swimmers will have their own individual lanes, and you probably have seen that on TV. But in just a normal swimming session or in training, you'll have multiple swimmers in each lane. More on that later. Now, when it comes to choosing which lane that you go into, there is generally a hierarchy of sorts when it comes to that in terms of your pace or ability. Now, most pools will go from a slow lane up to a fast lane, and they'll normally have signs for that. If they don't and you're unsure and there's a lot of swimmers in there, you can simply just speak to the lifeguard. And don't worry, you don't need to hand over your 100-meter PB or anything like that. They're generally just self-seeding, and you just gauge it a little bit by looking at the other swimmers that are swimming up and down. And let's face it, no one is really swimming at their 100-meter PB pace all the time. You'll also notice, and you can see them behind me right now, are flags. And these are positioned 5 meters from either end. These are normally referred to as the backstroke flags. So they're there to indicate to someone swimming backstroke that the wall is coming up. You probably don't need to worry about this too much at the moment. You'll also notice that on most lane ropes, the color will change as well in that final 5 meters also to help with that. We also, you may notice on yours, you'll have pace clocks, and these are a little bit different to your normal clocks because they're kind of a never-ending cycle. So it allows you to, if you want, use that to time your reps and see how long it's taking you to swim 50 meters, 100 meters, rather than having to use your watch. And they've got a red, a black, a blue, normally different colors that'll spin around it. It's just up to you how you choose them. We've got videos on that, so go check those out. But equally, you can just use your own personal watch if you like. And finally, you probably noticed a black or a coloured line going down the lane on the floor. Now, these are down the centre of the lane, but also you probably noticed they have a T at either end as you approach the wall. These are normally positioned about 1.6 metres from each wall. At least they're meant to be, can vary from pool to pool, but they're meant to be 1.6 metres. And this is simply to indicate that the lane is coming to an end without you having to lift your head up. You can also use it for timing tumble turns, but maybe something for the future. Now, if you are sharing a lane, then you'll use this line to divide the lane into two and you can swim around. If you're in it on your own, then obviously you can just swim up and down that black line. But as is the case for most people, you're probably sharing a lane, which is actually probably one of the most intimidating things about pool swimming. So let's move on to that. Okay, so once you've chosen your lane based on the pace of the other swimmers in there in relation to yourself, then just place your stuff down on the end of the lane, just in arm's reach basically, so that you can grab it once you're in and swimming. And then if there are other people in that lane, you may just want to say hello to them, notify them that you're here. If they pause the end of the lane, just say hi, ask them if it's all right to join them. That's not compulsory, to be clear, but it's just quite polite and always just nice to say hi to people and notify them before you start launching yourself in. If they are continuously swimming, you don't manage to do that, it's not the end of the world. By you just pausing there, sorting your stuff out for a second, they may just notice you, see your shadow hovering over. Now, before you do go jumping in, you want to check the flow of the lane. And by that, I mean which direction they are rotating around. Now, in most parts of the world, this will be in a clockwise motion in each lane. In some parts of the world, and it's the case in the UK, is that alternates per adjacent lane. So it'll be clockwise in one, anti-clockwise in the next. The reason being is that each side of the lane is then going the same flow or the same direction as the adjacent lane, so you won't hit your arms. Hopefully that makes sense. You may also find if there's just one other person in there and you're joining them, they're quite happy to just swim straight up and down on either side of that black line that we mentioned. But worth checking that before you jump in. But once you're ready to, get yourself in, jump in, get yourself in by the steps at the side, and then just ready yourself in the corner of the lane. Keep yourself out of the way whilst the other swimmers swim past or they come to a stop, by which point they'll all know you're there, you're ready to go. Find an opportune time to go and then set off. Okay, now that you're in, you may now start to figure out that some swimmers are a little bit faster than you or maybe a little bit slower than you, and that's perfectly fine, but we can play with this a little bit. So if someone is a bit faster than you, it makes sense to set off straight behind them because they're only going to swim away from you and therefore give you a bit of room to play with. If someone's slower than you, if it's possible to do so, let them go, give them as much gap as possible before setting off, and also that then gives you a nice buffer for you to play with before then being interrupted by catching them. Now, when it comes to turning and getting to the end of the lane, you want to move over to the centre of the lane or as far over as you possibly can before you touch the wall and push off, or do a Thompson if you're at that point already. The reason being, if you do it directly ahead of you as you approach the wall and you just turn, push off, you run the risk of pushing straight back off into someone that might have been swimming behind you, which won't be much fun at all. Now, if you continue to just swim on your side of the lane, on either side, you shouldn't run into any issues. If you do end up clattering hands, it's perfectly fine. That does happen when you're sharing a lane. You haven't done anything wrong. Just say sorry to the person, they shouldn't have an issue with it, and you'll just carry on your way all happily. When it comes to catching one another, now this can take a bit of negotiating. Normally in public swimming they say just carry on until the end of the lane, and then if it's you that's being caught, you just stop, you pull over to the edge as closely as you can, let them pass by, and then you set off behind them. Or if you've caught the other person, obviously do the same. Just be patient, don't tap their feet, that could annoy them. But yeah, it should all work. Lane sharing actually works incredibly well when everyone's on board. Now you may also be wondering what all this kit is that people turn up to a swimming pool with. Now to be clear, you don't need any of it. You can just simply turn up as yourself, maybe with a bottle if you want, just to keep yourself hydrated, and that's it. But in case you're wondering, we've got items like a pool buoy, which you may see people turning up with. That's spelled P-U-L-L-B-U-O-Y. And as the name suggests, this is to help you pull through the water. It isolates the arms by going between your legs, stopping you from kicking your legs, meaning you have to move yourself and propel yourself purely with your arms. Obviously, with this being floaty, it helps to keep your hips and your legs nicely afloat whilst not actually using them. You may also see people using a kickboard. Works in a similar way. This time it isolates the legs. You grip onto it, either top, bottom, and it helps to keep your body afloat whilst kicking along. You might also see people using something like this, a snorkel. It's not quite like your normal snorkel you might use to go and check out the fish whilst you're at sea. Now this is to go in the centre, and it helps with working on technique. So you don't need to breathe to the side necessarily because you are able to breathe through the snorkel. It allows you to really hone in and refine technique before including that into the equation. We also see people using hand paddles. That increases the surface area of the hand and therefore putting more force, building up a bit of strength in the swim. You may also see people using some short fins. Again, this is to help build up strength in the leg kick, helps with mobility and ankles and things like that. So if you are interested, you can try out some of this at some swimming pools. They may have pool buoys and kickboards available for you to try out and use, but as I said, you don't need all of it, so it's entirely up to you. I'm also going to explain how swim sessions work, not because you necessarily need to go off and start doing a session as such, but in case you are sharing a lane with people that might be doing a workout, a session, so you understand what is going on. So generally, if someone's doing a swim session, that means that they are breaking that swim up into bite-sized chunks. Rarely do swimmers that are getting in to try and improve are they swimming just endlessly up and down? They'll start with a warm-up, a main set, and a warm down, maybe even with a drill set, a speed set in there. And even within those individual parts, they're then broken up into smaller reps as well. Some of them might be just 50 meters really fast, others might be slightly longer reps that are a bit of a slower pace, and so on and so forth. Now, that means that they will be coming to a stop every so often between those individual reps. And normally what they do is they do them off a certain time or with a certain recovery afterwards. That means that they'll come in, they'll probably start looking at their clock or the wall clock and start timing and counting before pushing off fairly soon after again. So in case you're wondering what they're up to, that is exactly it. And then when it comes to end of block, they may then take a couple of minutes just to recover before starting one of the larger blocks again. So if you see swimmers again congregating at the end of the lane, they're not trying to be annoying, they are probably just following a workout. Now what makes it difficult is if you are sharing a lane with other swimmers that are all trying to do their individual workouts or just generally trying to swim, you're all kind of fighting with one another and setting off at different times. So try to be accommodating. You're all just trying to work around one another, but it also doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be doing workouts. Just do what you're comfortable with. Well, there we have it. I hope you're feeling less intimidated and scared about heading to your local swimming pool. If you've got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Anyone there, no one will be judging you, and everyone should be willing to help. And again, if you want to just ask any questions here, drop them in the comments section down below. Also, with that, if you'd like some tips as a beginner swimmer, then do check out our 5 beginner swim tips video for a little bit more guidance on that. If you'd like to continue following the channel for more tips to help you through this swimming journey, then make sure you give this video a like to support us, and also subscribe so you are notified when those videos pop up.